Thank you very much. And we will go ahead and welcome you to the Senate Committee on Education and open our meeting this afternoon. Welcome to all those that are online and present by phone. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Dondero-Loop.
Here.
Senator Hardy.
Here.
Senator Hammond.
Here.
Senator Lang.
Here.
Senator Buck.
Here.
Senator Dunyate.
Here.
Chair Dennis.
Here. Thank you very much. And please mark everybody's here, so everybody's present. We do have a quorum. And then just housekeeping items, just stay muted when you're not speaking. And committee information is available on our online in Nellis, which is our software that we use on the legislature's website. You may also watch our meetings through Nellis or the legislature's YouTube channel. If testifying or providing public comment, please register to participate through Nellis, and you will receive an email confirmation with the call-in information. And the details for doing that are available on any of the top of every page with Nellis on the help link. When testifying, state and spell your name and affiliation, if any, and we'll be taking public comment at the end of the meeting. The chair may and I will limit testimonies, so if you could keep your public comments to 2 minutes. Also, feel free to submit your full comments in writing and briefly summarize them in spoken testimony. You may submit written comments as outlined on the agenda by email or faxing them to the committee manager. And we expect courtesy and respect in all of our interactions. So we will now, I'm going to, since we've got everybody here, I hadn't heard if anybody has to go present a bill, but I'm going to start with the work session first. So we're going to go to SB 27. And I believe our staff, Jen Sturm, is going to walk us through the work session document.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jen Sturm, Committee Policy Analyst. Included in Nellis today is the work session document packet. The bill on today's work session is Senate Bill 27, which was presented by Nevada's Department of Education first on February 8th, and then again at our last meeting on February 22nd. The bill is written, authorizes the superintendent of public instruction to investigate certain persons subject to his or her jurisdiction, and authorizes the State Board of Education to delegate authority to the department to suspend or revoke a teacher's license in certain circumstances. The bill creates additional types of licenses for teachers and other educational personnel. As introduced, Senate Bill 27 also continues the Teachers School Supplies Assistance account beyond June 30th, 2021, restricts funds in that account to be used for the reimbursement of teacher for the purchase of school supplies, and creates the account for teacher incentives. Additionally, SB 27 authorizes the governor to appoint a college or school of education dean or his or her representative to the Commission on Professional Standards in Education. The bill revises provisions related to the approval of programs and certain course completion requirements for the Teach Nevada Scholarship Program, and provisions related to funds appropriated to the Nevada Institute on Teaching and Educator Preparation. Finally, SB 27 authorizes the department to review school family compacts required by public schools to fulfill certain federal requirements related to parental and family engagement, and removes the requirement for the Department of Ed to prescribe certain forms related to the status of a pupil's schoolwork and community resources. In your packet, starting on page 4, is a mock-up prepared by our legal division, which reflects the proposed amendments, and I'll go ahead and quickly run through those. The Department of Education proposed an amendment removing the language regarding professional standards and licenses for school paraprofessionals. The Nevada Association of School Superintendents proposed the following amendments: preserve the teacher's school supplies assistance account and the various ways districts have selected to disperse funds to their teachers in their schools. And B, include additional language stating that the decision about what classroom supplies are purchased by the teacher is the purview of the classroom teacher and is not the decision of the school's administration. And C, remove the originally proposed language regarding licensed coaches. The final amendment proposed was by the Washoe County School District, which proposed to clarify that investigations by the superintendent are related only to licensed employees, not any person. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So you have we just heard this at our last, heard it for a second time this last meeting, but with all the amendments. So what you have before you today is the mock-up with the included amendments. Questions? I'm not seeing anybody raise. You can just raise your hand if you have a question or speak out. Okay, I'm not hearing anybody with questions. Do we need more time, or are we good to move forward? If we are, I'm willing to take a motion.
You need a motion, Mr. Chair?
I do.
Chair Dennis, I'll make a motion. Sorry, Doc. Chair Dennis,
right.
I'll make a motion with the amendments for Senate Bill number 27. Is that right?
Yeah. So the motion would be amend and do pass.
Okay. Chair Dennis, I make a motion, amend and do pass Senate Bill number 27.
Okay, we have a motion to amend and do pass.
Second.
I have a second from Senator Hardy. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Oh wait, we have to do a roll call vote. I got to follow my script here, so hold on. Hold on 1 second. All right. Will the committee secretary, we have a motion and a second and no further discussion. Will the committee secretary please take the roll call vote?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Vice Chair Dondero-Loop. Vice Chair Dondero-Loop.
Sorry. Will the committee secretary please take the roll call vote?
Vice Chair Dondero-Loop.
I'm not sure if we're having technical difficulties. You guys can hear me, right?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, yeah.
Jen Sturm, policy analyst. If we're having technical difficulties, I can take the roll call vote if you'd like.
Okay. Yes, if you would do that.
Okay. Senator Buck,
Yes.
Senator Hammond,
Yes.
Senator Hardy,
Yes.
Senator Lang,
Yes.
Vice Chair Dondero-Loop,
Yes.
Senator Dennis, Chair Dennis.
Yes. It looks like the motion passes. All right, I am going to ask Vice Chair Don Darrell if you would do the floor statement. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Chair Dennis?
Yes. I'm sorry. Senator Hardy and then Senator Lang.
Senator Donati, I don't think he got a chance to say yes.
I wondered, okay, so yes, so let's go back because I wondered if he had a chance. Can we double check that, Ms. Sturm?
I apologize. And Senator Donati.
Thank you, and I'm a yes.
Thank you. All right. Senator Lang, was that what you were going to comment on? Oh, you're muted.
Ditto. That was the same thing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for catching that. I hesitated because I thought she hadn't, and then I thought maybe there's a tech on my, and I just missed it. But okay, thank you very much. All right. All right. Now we are going to go to our next item, which is Senate Bill 66, and I will open the hearing on Senate Bill 66. This measure, it's the Nevada K-16 Connectivity and Innovation Advisory Commission, and I believe we have Mr. Brad Keating from Clark County School District who's going to do the presentation, along with Mr. Mitchell from, and I think they're coming with an amendment, and so I think Mr. Mitchell is also with him.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Senate Committee on Education. My name is Brad Keating, Director of Government Relations for the Clark County School District. We're excited to be able to speak with you about Senate Bill 66. As was mentioned by Senator Mo Dennis, Mr. Chair, we will be using the copy that you see in Nellis, the amended version, as we walk through the bill today. Prior to getting into the particulars of this bill today, I do want to note that it's a very exciting day for the Clark County School District. Right now, Dr. Jar is making a big announcement at Peterson Elementary School about the opening of schools, and we are fortunate to have with us here today our CCSD trustee, Evelyn Garcia Morales, who felt it incredibly important to be here today to be able to speak with each of you about the importance of this bill and how we could attack and bridge the digital divide. So, Trustee Garcia Morales.
Hi, Brad. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair Dennis and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Evelyn Garcia Morales, and I have the absolute privilege to serve as a trustee for the Clark County School District, representing the diverse constituents of District C. I'm here today to speak to you about the importance of bridging the digital divide for our students and why SB 66 is an important part and first step towards achieving that goal. This pandemic has brought us to a new world of distant learning and education and laid bare the inequities across our communities. This past fall, I spent many hours working with many dedicated volunteers gathered by the Connecting Kids Nevada campaign to walk the neighborhoods of our school district and saw the inequities firsthand. I spoke with families that could not afford internet connection, the devices, or even both. And parents, they talked to me about how their child how they struggled with the idea that their child would not be able to keep up with their studies as they were really not prepared to participate in a digital environment. And I'm incredibly grateful that I was able to do my part to help families connect. However, at the same time, it was incredibly heartbreaking. We know that technology is constantly evolving at a rapid pace. Just ask anyone who has stood in line overnight for the latest and greatest device. It may be difficult for our families to keep their children at the same footing as their peers. And this is why a bill like SB 66 is an important first step to addressing these concerns for my constituents. We cannot address these inequities until we are able to have a consistent picture of what our students need each year, and as their needs change over time. With this, the state can finally begin to understand the resources and the money needed so that all of Nevada's students can fully participate in the evolving world of virtual learning and address how we can bridge the digital divide. Thank you to our team and to the Governor's Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology for their work on this bill. I'm going to now pass it back to Dr. Brad Keating to talk about the specifics of Senate Bill 66. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee. Again, this is Brad Keating for the record, representing the Clark County School District. I am pulling up a PowerPoint to walk through. Again, I just wanted to make it clear one more time to anyone watching through the live stream that we will be referring to a fully amended bill that has been posted on Nellis. This amended bill, amended version of the bill replaces that pre-filed bill, creating that commission. And that we are extremely grateful, as Trustee Garcia Morales said, for OSIT taking such an active role in assisting the Clark County School District on this bill and making it something we can all be proud of. When it comes to access to the internet, as the trustee mentioned, Senate Bill 66 is important for a number of reasons. As we're all aware, and was testified to just a few moments ago, the COVID-19 pandemic has showcased the need to create a more comprehensive system to improve internet access for all students. This bill would help shine a spotlight on the inequities facing families throughout the state and help us ensure that every Nevadan receives the highest quality education. This revised bill requires the Governor's Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology to compile information on student home internet access and make recommendations for improving home connectivity. In collaboration with school districts across the state, this information will become incredibly valuable to all of us. Finally, this bill helps us quantify the challenges we currently face, which in turn makes the solution much more concrete and verifiable. By having this information, OSIT will be able to truly craft a plan for the state to address the digital divide.
Chair Dennis, members of the Senate Committee on Education, my name is Leonardo Benavides, Coordinator of Government Relations for the Clark County School District. As it pertains to OSIT, there are a few responsibilities that they will have as part of this bill. First, OSIT will be responsible for developing a statewide system to gather data about students' internet access. Do students have internet at home? If so, what type of connection? Do they have devices, etc.? They will work closely with school districts to create a survey that is not cumbersome, but provides valuable data to the state in order to get a full picture. Second, OSET will compile all the information from school districts so that it can create a statewide gap analysis. Third, the statewide gap analysis will include recommendations around home connectivity and funding opportunities. OSET will present this data to the legislature, governor, and the State Board of Education. Even more specifically, it is the goal of CCSD and OSET to be able to present to the Interim Legislative Committee on Education on the findings for the upcoming school year to provide a better picture of where we stand as a state and what we need to do to close this gap. Next slide. As we have seen, the landscape of education has fundamentally shifted how and where our students are receiving instruction. The state needs to develop tools to adapt for the future as technology is rapidly evolving. After all, today's broadband connection could be tomorrow's dial-up. SB 66 starts to address the issues of access inequality for students who do not have a stable connection by giving us a complete picture with useful and accurate data. SB 66 also prepares Nevada to have access to possible future federal funding streams, such as the FCC's Commission Lifeline Emergency Broadband Benefit and the school and library's E-rate programs. To provide additional comments and complete a walk through the bill, I would like to introduce Brian Mitchell, Director of the Governor's Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology.
Thank you, Chair Dennis and members of the committee for hearing this bill today. And I'd also like to thank Dr. Keating and the rest of the CCSD team for allowing OSIT to participate in the drafting of this bill. And we're looking forward to the partnership. Mr. Keating, if you would bring the slides back up, I'll walk the committee through the bill. Next slide. So fundamentally, and I think this has been said very eloquently by the trustee, that this is an equity-focused bill, and even when we go back to school, their learning will have changed, and home connectivity will become a necessary part of learning moving forward. So this bill will help us to understand the extent of the problem that we face, and also to be able to create concrete solutions. There's basically three parts of this bill. In section 2.1.1 and 2.1.2, the bill directs OSIT to create a statewide standardized system of data gathering regarding home connectivity in collaboration with school districts. So we will work with school districts to put together what that data gathering system looks like in order to understand what information we need to have in order to connect kids. And again, this will be FERPA compliant in order to maintain conformity with the law. Next slide. In section 2.1.3, the bill directs OSIT to create minimum standards for district-issued devices regarding the different connectivity hardware and chips that they need to have to connect to the internet. As was mentioned, technology is constantly changing, and it's necessary for devices of the future to be able to connect to a wide variety of different wireless networks. And so the recommendations that we produce will be related specifically to wireless chipsets that come with devices. So we're not going to be touching things like screen sizes or the number of USB ports that that district-issued devices have, or the brand or the make and model of the devices, but rather just related to connectivity. So that's step one. In step two, school districts, starting in section 2.2, school districts will then survey their students and families regarding home connectivity and make an annual report to OSIT regarding the number of students with or without access to the internet and devices. Next slide. And then starting in section 2.3 is step 3 of our 3-step process. OSIT will compile the results into a gap analysis and will make recommendations to the governor, to the legislature, and to the State Board of Education regarding how best to close that gap. And we'll certainly consult with a wide variety of individuals and organizations that have expertise in this on this topic in order to make the recommendations. One thing that I'll mention in particular is that the Biden administration has made home connectivity a priority, and there is likely to be federal funding coming down for the purpose of home connectivity. And the FCC will require specific numbers from states in order to draw down this federal funding. And so this bill will, if it passes, will put Nevada out in front to be able to draw down federal funding in order to address the digital divide and connect our students. And so we see this as being a very forward-thinking bill that gets us out in front. Next slide. And that is the conclusion of our presentation. And I'll turn it back over to Mr. Keating.
Thank you to the committee and Mr. Chair for allowing us to present this bill today. We are open to any questions or comments the committee has, and all of us stand ready to answer any questions.
Thank you. All right, let's see. Let's start. Let me make a comment. So basically, Mr. Keating, if you could, you're basically replacing the other bill with this new language, and it's moving so that it's all going to OSIT to be able to create all this. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, Brad Keating for the record. You are correct. The original intent of the bill was to create a commission that guided the recommendations moving forward. This bill changes that to have the school districts report to OSIT, and then OSIT help form a statewide gap analysis and the recommendations to the legislature and the state moving forward.
Right, and then and the OSIT is let's see, is OSIT going to use a committee of? I mean, is it going to use other people, or is it just going to just aggregate all the information?
Brian Mitchell, Director of OSIT for the record. OSIT will take and compile the information that we receive from school districts, and then we will present that information to you at the legislature, as well as the governor and the State Board of Education. And so essentially the legislature becomes the commission or the committee that these findings get presented to, rather than there being a step in between of a different body that would hear the recommendations.
Thank you. So on the creating a list of devices, as it says in was that section 2.1.3 maybe? No, 2.1 C3, where it talks about the list of devices. Is OSIT, are you going to create that list?
Brian Mitchell for the record. We won't be creating a list of devices. Rather we'll be creating a list of non-binding recommendations for components that should be included in any district device in order to be able to connect to the different technologies or different wireless networks.
Right. So what they're able to do versus a specific device.
Correct.
Great. All right. Thank you very much. Committee, I see Senator Doñate, and then Senator Dondero Loop, and Senator Buck, Senator Lang. All right. Let's go in that order. Senator Doñate.
Thank you so much, Chair Dennis, and to the presenters for today. In reviewing the newly amended language, I just wanted to get a quick clarification. In the original text of the bill, it encompassed K through 16, but in the new language, it only encompasses K through 12. Can you explain to me why this has shifted, why we have shifted this focus, and was this intentional, or because I recognize that higher ed students also have challenges accessing the internet and broadband. So I just wanted to hear from your perspective if that was an accidental mistake or if the intention is really to focus only on K through 12.
Brad Keating for the record. In conversations that we've had with our partners across the board, and Mr. Mitchell may be able to discuss this a little more in depth, but the higher education partners all utilize the Nevada network already and have a lot of this in place currently. So we wanted to focus on right now, to us, the biggest concern, obviously, as a school district is our pre-K to 12 students, and keep a focus on that. If the commission or if the committee believes it's important to include higher education, I think we can. But Brian, I wanted to ask you your thoughts on that.
Brian Mitchell for the record, and I would agree with what Mr. Keating said, that the intent of the bill was to focus on K-12 students, and that I believe that the higher education students have another solution.
Thank you. Okay. Senator Dondero Loop.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is, you discussed putting together the framework to determine the accessibility via a survey. So who would you be surveying?
Brian Mitchell for the record. The survey would go to families and students, and I believe CCSD can describe a little bit in greater detail about how they would administer that to their families.
Thank you, Brad Keating for the record. Vice Chair Dondero Loop. I think from the Clark County School District's perspective, and we've spoken to a number of school districts across the state at this point, it would be envisioned that this would become part of the registration packet as parents register their students. So it would be 2 or 3 additional questions maybe during that registration period where we can find out if there's devices in the home or internet at the home and what issues. So it would be a real streamlined, easy approach for parents and guardians.
Okay, and the reason I ask is because I was concerned it was first of all, another survey that they may not answer. Second of all, if it's a survey online, they may not have the capabilities which we're trying to get to them. And then the third level of that would be, if we're going to do that in registration, we're going to have to have some means, I would assume, that we are going to reach the other students who are not registering necessarily because they've been at that school 3 or 4 years. So I realize the logistics need to be worked out, but I just kind of wanted that on the record that we need to, you know, I don't want it to just be a note in the backpack because all those notes don't make it home. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Senator Lang, and then we'll go to Senator Buck, I think was the next one.
Thank you. I'm really excited about this. I just have a couple of questions. So I think we talked yesterday on the phone, and I just want to ensure that the data that's gathered will be able to be separated out by school, so we know where the gaps are by school instead of just as a whole district. And then I have one more after that.
So would that be Mr. Mitchell?
Sure.
Yes. Brian Mitchell for the record. Thank you, Senator Lang, for the question. It is our intention that the data would be separated by school and down to the student level. We can't provide individual solutions to individual students if we don't know who those students are and where they live. And so that would be our intention, is that the data would be that specific.
Okay, great. And the information, the stuff that you're putting in their backpack to go home, the survey is going to be in Spanish and English. Are you going to use both languages, or are you going to use any other languages, just to ensure that people have the best opportunity to respond?
Brian Mitchell for the record. And the answer to that question is absolutely yes. We can't have good data if families can't understand or read the survey. And so the specific logistics of how the survey will go out and how we will follow up with families where we know that they are registered and attending but haven't participated yet are things that OSIT will work out this summer, or would work out this summer if the bill passes. And we want to be, work in very close collaboration with all the school districts to put together the framework for providing the data in a way that makes the most sense and is the easiest for families. Ultimately, they're the customers, and so we want to have them be our focus.
Great, thank you. And my last question, I think, is to Mr. Keating. I noticed in, let me go down and figure this out. It's in section 2, in section 2(3)(b). Does that make sense? It's about developing a fiscal plan that outlines how to close both the device gap and the access gap. Is this something, look, I mean, I think we're all pretty aware that it's going to cost money. Is this something the district is going to absorb, or is it something you come back to the legislature with?
Brad Keating for the record. I appreciate the question, Senator Lang. I think we're at the moment, what we're looking at is we need to first bring this data together to truly shine that light on where we are and where the gap is across the state. As Brian mentioned earlier today, the idea is to take that report to you all as the legislative body, the State Board of Education, and to discuss it there. And then I think this information will help inform decision-making for not only us as school districts, but you all as legislators in the future as to if there are funding opportunities, how we could bridge that digital divide.
Great, thank you.
This is Senator Dennis. Also, that second sentence in there also references that they need to also take advantage of all the other opportunities, whether it's the FCC's lifelong program, the emergency broadband, the E-rate. So those are all things that we could use that perhaps we're not using to the best. So hopefully they'll take that into consideration as well. So, okay, let's go to Senator Buck.
Hi there. Some technical difficulties difficulties. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Innovation and filling in the gaps of technology, especially with disparity in technology at home, takes innovative leadership. And so I can remember when Superintendent Ebert ran the technology department, and I was principal of CT Sewell, the Title I school, and using every last spare dollar to make sure that students were one-to-one at school. So I'm actually encouraged by this bill in that, you know, I know that most families have smartphones, but there definitely is a gap. And I think the key to this is teacher input, because what we would see is that students weren't able to keep up with online goals from home as well as for their homework and various things. So I think teacher input is definitely key. And I'm very encouraged by this bill because it takes connectivity to take students to the next level and being able to access that. I mean, this is the wave of the future. So now to my question, if I may, Mr. Chair, does this replace, or can this commission replace or combine with one or two or three of these other 24 commissions, boards, and councils that the Department of Education deals with? I'm just wondering if we can eliminate some of the bureaucracy with the different boards, commissions, and from, I believe it's SB 76.
This is Leonardo Benavides for the record. So on the revised version of SB 66, we revised it this way after conversations with NDE and OSET to specifically remove the commission and have OSET sort of take on the duties, so that as NDE is working to sort of streamline their process, this is not an additional task for them. So OSET has taken over on this amended version of the bill. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else, Brian?
Brian Mitchell for the record. Only want to say that Senator Buck, you and I are on the same page with regard to commissions and eliminating them, and we went ahead and eliminated the commission in this revised version of the bill. So I'm glad you brought that up, because we're on the same wavelength there.
Thank you. I will mention, in that other bill, one of the commissions being that would be, while the function still would go on with the board, would be the Commission on Educational Technology, which could possibly function in this role. But I think this is a much more, a better way to get at this information in a quicker way. And so I think that this is a very efficient way to do that. And I appreciate the bill, what the bill is trying to accomplish here, to make sure that we can figure out how do we get access to all these kids in their homes now. The Commission on Educational Technology, its purpose was to get a computer for every student in the classroom, and it didn't go as far as into the home. And now we're seeing that there's that huge need. So this will actually give us that information so we can make those decisions as we move forward. So appreciate that. Any other questions? I am not seeing anybody else. Okay, so we are then going to go to testimony in support, opposition, and neutral on this bill, and on Bill 66, Senate Bill 66. So first we'll hear testimony in support of the bill. BPS, please add the first caller.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in support on SB 66, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 485, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and you may begin.
Craig Stevens, CraigStevens, representing Cox Communications. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, and it's great to be back in the Committee on Education. I'd also like to thank the bill sponsor, CCSD, and the Governor's Office for this amendment. Cox is in full support of SB 66 in its amended form. pandemic has shown us all how the critical need of accurate data is to understand and support all students' distance learning opportunities. Specifically, Section 2B for utilizing a public-private partnership was just so truly important in bridging the digital divide. Throughout the pandemic, Cox, local and state government has worked tirelessly to connect every student in Clark County. It is with great pride that through our Connect and Compete program and the great work done by the community, we were able to connect over 15,000 students in just over 2 months. This effort and the speed it got done was unprecedented anywhere else in the country. We should all be very proud how the community came together and the foresight of this body during the special session to support the digital needs of our students. I know we at Cox are both in awe of what we're able to accomplish and so very proud that it all got done. SB 66 will continue this work and is a great step in getting all student access to high-quality internet and devices so they are prepared tomorrow and beyond. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's go on to the next caller in support.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 692, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and you may begin.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Vice Chair Don Darrow-Loop and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przynski, MaryPierczynski, representing the Nevada Association of School Superintendents, which is an organization composed of all 17 superintendents. We are in support of the amended bill, and we want to thank the Clark County School District for bringing this important bill forward. We know there are gaps all around the state, and this will put a focus on them and hopefully, with all this organized data, help the state to access more federal money. Thank you.
Thank you. We can move on to the next one.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 927, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and you may begin. Caller with the last 3 digits of 927, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and you may begin.
Hello and thank you, Committee Chair Dennis and committee members. My name is Hava Ahmed, Hawahahmad, and I am here representing the Clark County Education Association. The Clark County Education Association represents more than 18,000 licensed professionals in Clark County School District. We are the largest independent teachers union in the country and in the state of Nevada. We engage in bipartisan advocacy for advancing public education in Nevada. CCEA supports the amended Senate Bill 66 and thanks the Clark County School District for bringing this important bill forward. Nevada made tremendous progress during remote learning when a device was placed in every student's hands, but that should just be the beginning. Closure of the digital divide includes 2 components: access to devices and reliable internet access. The image of economically disadvantaged students sitting in front of a wireless school bus is an image that we will always remember. It was a Band-Aid fix to a deep-seated problem. The pandemic highlighted the terrible inequity in access across our state, and CCEA believes that Nevada will take a huge step forward towards access and equity in remote learning with the implementation of this bill. CCEA supports the steps that OSIT is taking, but as a certified information privacy professional, I would like to caution this committee to consult all applicable state and federal data privacy laws and regulations, fair information practices, and corporate best practices to ensure that student privacy is not breached as we work towards the goal of closing the digital divide. CCEA believes the digital divide can be closed, and once closed, it will help ensure equitable access to education for all Nevada students. Thank you for your efforts, and we look forward to doing all that we can to support Connecting Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We can go to the next speaker in support.
Chair, there are no more callers in support at this time.
Okay, we'll now hear testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 66. Please add the caller, the next caller for opposition.
I'm sorry, Chair. It looks like somebody actually jumped in the queue to testify in support. Did you want to go ahead and take them?
Yes, let's go to that.
Caller with the last three digits of 081, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and you may begin.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. This is Dylan Keith, Keith, policy analyst with the Vegas Chamber. I apologize for the technical difficulty there. We are in support of SB 66 today. The pandemic further exposed the severity of the digital divide. During the pandemic, the Chamber was active in raising funds to get Chromebooks into the hands of students. We'd also like to thank our private sector partners, which did so much to make sure that students had access to connectivity. Many attributes of education are moving towards a digital platform, and it's more important than ever that we start being proactive and making sure that our students are ready for that digital platform as well. We also supported the original language of the bill, where the Commission would focus on K through 16, streamlining the future of Nevada's educational system comprehensively and bringing us forward together. Thank you for your time, and we support this measure.
Thank you very much.
Chair, there are no more callers in support at this time.
Okay, so let's go to those in opposition.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition on SB 66, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Once again, to testify in opposition on SB 66, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Let's go on then to anyone wishing to testify who is neutral on the bill. Please add that caller.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in neutral on SB 66, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last three digits of 837, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and you may begin.
Hello, Chair Dennis and committee members. This is Kent Irvin, ERVIN, with the Nevada Faculty Alliance, the Statewide Association of Faculty at NC Colleges and Universities. We are in general support of the idea of the bill, but are neutral because the amended bill doesn't include higher education, and we don't have any particular expertise on how the K-12 folks solve this problem. I would like, though, to bring to your attention that the internet connectivity and equipment issues are definitely an issue for college-level students also. In the college environment, when you can have all students and residents on a campus, it's a great equalizer for students of different backgrounds. But when we went online, disparities became readily apparent. You could no longer just send a student to the library or to a computer in their dorms when they didn't have the proper equipment at home. In my own experience of teaching 250 general chemistry students, I found that about 15% of my students could not complete the online exams using the regular monitoring software because of either a Wi-Fi, Ethernet connectivity problem or an equipment problem. So it's definitely an issue that we should keep in mind, and not to say that this bill should necessarily include college. There may be other mechanisms, but just to keep in mind that as we continue post-pandemic and likely have more online instruction, regardless of how well we can get back to campus, we need to keep in mind this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to the next person in neutral.
If you have recently joined the call, we are currently on testifying neutral for SB 66. If you would like to testify neutral, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last three digits of 497, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and you may begin.
This is Yvonne Sweeten, Y-V-O-N-N-E, Sweeten, S-W-E-E-T-E-N. I am neutral on this issue. Thank you for letting me speak today.
Thank you.
Chair, there are no more callers in neutral at this time.
Okay. Just because I know that with technology, sometimes people try to get in and don't. Is there, I guess, if there's anyone else that's trying to, if you would connect at this point, I will take that testimony if we somehow missed it. Because I know with the technology, sometimes it gets trying to press the thing in with the delay in the broadcast. So is there anyone else, BPS, is there anyone else in there for any of the either support for, against, or neutral?
Chair, the public line is open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and finish up. Is there any questions that have come up from the members as we listen to testimony that, or from the original that you need to get clarified before we finish the hearing? Not seeing any hands. Okay, we will then, Mr. Keating, do you have any closing comments, or are you good to go?
No, Mr. Chair, thank you to the committee and you for taking the time to hear this bill.
Thank you very much. So we will, having no more comment to come before us, I'll close the hearing on SB 66, and we will go to our next item on the agenda, which is public comment. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per person. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record and indicate your affiliation, if any. We'll broadcast production services. Please add the first caller.
Thank you, Chair. To testify for public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, the public line is open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Okay, why don't we give it just a minute, just to make sure that, because I know there's a little bit of a delay. So we'll be on pause here for 1 minute.
Chair, the public line is open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes public comment. Anything that any questions or that the members have before we finish? Not seeing any. Our next meeting, we won't have a meeting this Friday. Our next meeting will be on Monday. And that is all the business we have for today. So that concludes our meeting. Thank you very much.